With the jitterbug.
Boom, boom, boom,
With the jitterbug.
boom, 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 boom.
I got the boom boom up.
I don't know any of the words.
I like the high notes. It's nice. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Yes, we have replaced what actually could be a singer, Danielle, with a writer. So
Yeah, sorry, everybody. Apologies. Not a singer.
yeah, but
Yeah.
you know, everyone has their talents. We're just still looking for yours.
We should,
yeah.
we should go
Yeah.
maybe outside
Yeah,
or
let's-
something and find it in the
No,
trash
you
bin.
know, it's just I've missed you, writer. It's been so long. It's so nice to have
It's
you
been
back.
it's been days. And
You know,
days.
I'm gonna say something that I'm sure many people have said. I just found myself missing you. It's just like, oh, I got so used to Ryder being next to me every morning.
This is actually a first. Like, I've never actually heard this before.
And then it's just like, man, I just need somebody to needlessly talk to. Sometimes it makes sense. Sometimes it's like intellectual. Other times it's not, you know?
No, mostly I'm just kind of a sounding board. I've had somebody describe me as a sponge.
Oh.
I was described as a sponge this weekend. I was at a Christmas party and somebody was just ranting about something, and then afterwards they came up and were like, "You're so comforting to talk to. You're like a sponge."
I just want to know. I mean, this probably sounds like it was in the South. I mean, how many sponges are these people talking to? Just like,
I know, right? Right. This is what kind of therapy pet do they have, right? It's like a SpongeBob doll.
Just-
and they just
like a sponge with some googly eyes, and it's like, tell me what you think.
it's
really
no,
nice.
you're right. You know? Yeah.
Well, that's good. Did you have a good last half of your week?
Yeah, it was pretty good. It was pretty, like, went out and did the company Christmas party and got to have fun out there and see some people I hadn't seen in a while, and then got back home and went and purchased some lumber, some cherry wood from a local guy, and started working on a new project, and that always makes me happy.
Yeah. Wood?
yeah.
Cherry wood.
I
that
love
sounds,
going to pick up local wood.
That sounds nice. The cherry wood, is that just a different type of color? I mean, obviously it comes from a cherry tree, I'm guessing, but
Yeah, and it's one of the things that's interesting about cherry wood is it's light sensitive. So over time it darkens, which a lot of woods will kind of yellow over time because of the acids inside. And but the way cherry wood darkens is it darkens into a darker and darker and richer brown. And so
seems like you'd like that. You would want that, right?
Yeah. I mean, I enjoy it, and so I built our bed out of it, and now I'm building like a shoji screen, so a Japanese style window screen, and those, when they get lacquered, get dark. And so I kind of like this idea of leaving it natural, but over about 3 to 5 years, it'll start turning really dark and rich in color.
Nice. Yeah, I guess the main thing is when you're dealing with it to make sure you know it's going to darken, because you set it up with this design palette, all this color scheme, and it looks great, and it continues to look great. And then like you just maybe a couple months later, you're like, something's slightly off. And then 5 years come around, it's like black and everything's white in your room. You're like,
Oh well. Yeah, I actually set some maple against it, so the maple should keep its tone, and that way I can sort of gauge the contrast better. But anyway, I'm sorry, I'm devolving immediately into my
You get
new
him talking about his wood. He just can't keep going. Like no, a little shorter. He's like, no, a little longer.
No, this
And it's
is
like, you just can't keep doing it.
I
So
know, I just keep apologizing too. I'm so sorry.
well, speaking of your wood and things like that, our challenge on Friday was Disney movies. Find the segue in there. Find
It
the
sounds
segue
like
in
one of
there.
those Little Mermaid clips you hear about. Well, the chef. If you actually look at this scene, yeah,
Or the castle.
it's always shaped like a.
It's always got things in there. So our challenge on Friday was encouraging people to watch a Disney movie, because on Friday we had our lovely co-host Danielle on.
Good.
Yeah, she's a little shorter than you.
probably a little cuter too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And hopefully you guys did that, because we did broaden it for you guys and just say it's got to be under the Disney, umbrella. So it didn't have to be a Disney princess movie. It could just be any kind of Disney movie.
Did you end up watching one?
I don't think I did. I think I'm still gonna have to, be okay, because living with Danielle, enough Disney rubs off on you. It's kind of like when people say, hey, let's listen to Taylor Swift. I'm like, I'm good. Like, I like her, but I hear enough. Even when I'm not listening, it's just like, huh, what's that humming over there? Oh, what's that whistling over there? Oh, what's that? Every time I get in my car and I turn it on and it's like, oh, wonder if it's CD4 or CD5. And then I just sit there and it's like 40 minutes later, I'm like, oh wait, no, Taylor.
Yeah, it sucks you in.
Yeah. Fortunately, my resolve is stronger than that, and it's just like right away I know, just turn it off.
I can't name a single Taylor Swift song, and really can't even recognize them. I can recognize her.
Yeah.
But that's about it. So that would have been a great episode for me to sit in on, is for Danielle to like educate me.
Well, believe it or not, it's probably not gonna be the last time Danielle talks about Taylor Swift. So we'll make sure next time she does.
Okay, Taylor Swift and Disney.
Yeah.
This all sounds very like PG.
It's
It's all very soft.
It's funny you say that because because Danielle has been the dirtiest sailor mouth of any of our guests so far, our hosts. So
that's funny.
So yeah, it's the same. Don't let us fool you. We talked about Disney. We talked about what was the other thing you just said? Taylor Swift. But then we also talked about marijuana, and we talked about mushrooms, and we talked about a handful of other things that made it a little more interesting. So for those of you at home who are like, how did they talk about all of these things and make them relevant? Great question. And you should go check out Friday's episode 56, if you'd like to learn a little bit more about that. But for today, we have something special that I'm going to tell you about in 1 second.
Helpful for life.
Oh, I tried to get you just right in time.
Oh, he's so close.
The morning slurp.
Such a great sound.
The morning slurp, I think, is a good name for like a corner store or a corner restaurant or some sort of business.
Maybe your first child.
Yeah, the corner
morning.
Going down to the corner slurp and get your child delivered. It's like a
yeah, right. It's a multi-purpose corner store.
However you need to slurp, we're here with you. I got to turn your name back on. I turned your name off because we had Danielle on here. So let's get you back on there.
Sorry, audience. You probably don't know who I am.
We probably don't. Welcome to What the Hell is Water. I'm Reed Garcia, founder of Helpful for Life.
This is Ryder Richards, guy without a name.
Guy without a name, even though he just told you his name. He is without one. And today is Monday, December 20th. Can you believe it's almost Christmas? A classic kind of question like, wow, time's flown.
And the answer in like a credible sense is yes, I can.
Yes, I can.
But no, the year has gone fast. And as I heard somebody else say it, it's like we only really had like 6 months out of this year, and so it feels like it's like, how is this year ending?
Yeah. Well, and then as far as the show goes, like I looked down and I was like, man, it seemed like only 3 days ago it was episode 56, and now it's already episode 57.
Whoa,
it's just
that's
like
amazing.
Things just
time really
zoom.
flies. Yeah,
it's kind of like light speed or something, But yeah, no. All joking aside, it's gone pretty quickly, especially these last few months. I feel like for me, I'm like, okay, we've got the last couple months till the end of the year, and then the next thing you know, you look up and it's like, dang, Christmas is Saturday or something like that. One of those days.
Yeah. Like I was talking to my dad. He's making plans to come in, and he was just like, so what day should I drive in? I was like, whenever. And he was like, what's Christmas Eve? And I was like, I don't know. The 24th? Like, I know that.
Right,
but I don't know what day it is. He's like, well, I've got this and this due on these days and this. And I was like, you just show up whenever. Yeah. Like, if you show up the day after Christmas, it'll still be fine. Like, I'm just so casual about it, and so is he. I should have let my wife do the planning. She would have been better at it.
Well, that's the thing, though. It's interesting about holidays, birthdays, things like that. Like, for some reason, right? I'm not saying it's a bad reason, right? But a lot of people get really caught up in needing to be that exact day. And then there's some people who are like 200 IQ, like we're just going to celebrate Christmas, January 17th. And it's like, then we'll just have all the flights and all the hotels and all the cheap stuff that we need. We don't have to worry about traffic, all that kind of stuff. But, one thing about Christmas that is easy to forget sometime because it's so much more than what it started as, is that it's a religious holiday as well.
Wait, what?
I know. It's something about when the Islams came and they gave they broke bread in America with the Christopher Columbus. I think that's what happened.
And Chris was wearing that red suit.
Yes. Yeah. Uncle Chris.
Kris Kringle. Got it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Christopher Columbus.
And people
Kringle.
forget that.
Yeah. They totally
I
do.
don't know how, because it's the story,
Yeah,
Christmas
I know.
story.
I know. You grow up with this. Come on, people.
Every year.
Yeah, it is strange that it's in theory a religious holiday, and yet of course I was in New York or Brooklyn, I guess, last weekend, and so while we were in Brooklyn, we went in to see some friends in the city, and in the mid city there was this drunken Santa crawl. And so it was just the streets were full of all these Santa Clauses that were just trash.
Nice. The only thing better than Santa is the trash Santa.
That's right. Yeah, it was. There were just so many. You'd walk by this club, and it's nothing but like dudes in Santa outfits, just you know. And it was. Oh man, it was awesome.
Ho.
Yeah. And then
Were they around too, right?
Yeah. Then the
Santa's
ladies were
helpers.
the ladies were there too, all dressed up in their Christmas attire, which was much tighter.
Yes.
It was actually kind of hysterical, but and oddly enough, kind of smelly. Everything was smelly.
Well, you have all that dancing, all that partying, and everyone's still wearing that like thick cloth. Like that's not what they're meant for.
No, yeah.
This is meant to wear in an open air convertible as Muhammad drives the car across the ocean to America.
Right.
Don't
To
you
deliver the presents.
Exactly.
Yeah, got it.
And so
that's why
all
they
that...
crossed the ocean.
Well, I think we've done enough butchering
Enough
of one
damage.
holiday.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll talk about the actual Christmas story one day. Maybe.
Sure.
We'll
Yeah,
see.
let's give that a
We'll
shot.
see. But until that day, we're going to bring on one of our special guests here in a second. And her name is Libby Corneau. And today we're going to be talking about WHAM!
Whammy!
Oh, thank you. I left a little something off the end there. And with WHAM, we're talking about wholesomeness, hospitality, art, and Munchies. Because those things are really important to me and yummy to me and wholesome to me and arty to me. Yeah, it didn't work that well. But, they are very good and very important things. And, Libby actually managed to do all of those things with her business and also just in her life as well. And that's kind of how her business got started. She was kind of doing these things that she enjoyed and found valuable herself. And she wanted to share them with others and help improve them. So let's go ahead and bring her on. Come on. Out of our green room there, Libby. All right, let's see if this microphone works for you. Why don't you say a little test of
1 2 1 2
wow.
1.
Can you
1,
do a
2?
3 4? It picked up the 1 2.
1 2 3 4.
Ryder, why don't you give me a
1 2.
1 2.
Not my turn.
1 2.
All right, you're beautiful.
What's next?
All right, what about
I'm
5
gonna
6?
follow 7 8. 7 8 9.
Oh, there we go.
Is that why 6 was afraid of 7?
Mm-hmm.
What say something in yours?
Hey, 7 8 9.
All right, I think we're picking all of us up.
Can't believe
I know.
Why
That's
did
7.
do that?
It's honestly, well, let me tell you about Hanukkah. This is actually
Oh no.
this story.
I don't know if that's how that works.
Thank you for correcting. Yeah, Libby's over there like, what are they doing?
Thank goodness.
Please let
we
me get
got
over there.
somebody on this show.
Yeah.
Some discernment.
Well, welcome
Yeah.
to the show, Libby.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me, guys. It's nice to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I guess without further ado, I guess wanted to give a little bit more intro to you.
Oh, sure.
Yes, because one of my favorite things about you, Libby, is that you're one of those people that anytime you're around, you just can't help but be in a good mood.
Oh my
And you
gosh,
can't
you're
help
so
but
kind.
smile. And I want to encourage all of you out there, find somebody like this and make sure you see them, at least once a week, because it's good to recharge your battery. And, I have a couple friends like that, and you're definitely one of them. And it makes, you can be having a horrible day, and then you just see your smiling face, and then it's like, oh.
Wow, that's so kind.
Well, it actually comes from the heart. So I just wanted to start off with a wholesome moment to get us started with our discussion about wholesomeness.
Perfect.
Well done.
Thank you.
I thought, we'd started out with Disney too. And you had said you'd actually seen a Disney movie.
I
right?
did.
So
I
you did.
did.
The challenge.
I did do the challenge. I watched Luca. It's a great Disney movie about this little boy who is fish when he's in the water and boy when he's out of the water. And which environment does he want to spend his time?
So it's like Little Mermaid, but Little Boy Maid.
Yeah. Yeah. I had not made the connection, but it is. It is. It's a good movie. Go watch it if you haven't seen it. Luca.
Well, now I'm not gonna get that out of my head. That's like, I'm gonna be thinking like Nemo plus Little Mermaid.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is.
That's funny.
It's a good one.
Nice. I like it. Well, speaking of wholesome, that's one thing that makes Disney movies entertaining to watch. And, lately when I think of wholesome, a couple of things that pop into my mind are shows like Schitt's Creek or Ted Lasso, and similarly to how I was describing you, Libby.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of like when you watch one of those shows or you watch one of these movies, it's like, it doesn't really matter like what kind of mood you're in. You could be pissed off or mad about the world or whatever, but then you watch one of those movies, it kind of helps you feel good, and it kind of makes you feel like, wow, there is good in the world,
Yeah.
Yeah, you paused there for a second when you said pissed off. I thought you were about to say pissed drunk.
Yes. It's also true.
Yeah, when you're in that state, you watch one of these movies, it helps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, what when you think of wholesome stuff, what do you think of, Ryder?
We were kind of talking the other day, my wife and I, about things like Schitt's Creek and Ted Lasso, right? This kind of wanting people to be sincere and generous, and some of the snarky cynicism of the world is something that's now people are trying to combat through media, and that's kind of interesting as well. With all the sort of super dark superhero movies and everything else that comes out, then there is some sort of craving for fun.
Yeah.
And we're kind of just sort of discussing that, like people actually wanting other people to be good people and not to, to have real psychological issues and all these kind of things. And then I just started thinking, well, why am I watching like this? Because like, you can surround yourself with these really wonderful people, and we really do have deep psychological issues, but it maybe is fun to see that sort of on the screen as like a mirror for your actual life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm thinking of, the shows that y'all are talking about and listening and making connections and relating all at the same time. And so I'm thinking there's similarities and there's difference between like wholesome and comforting. And my mind kind of went there because the shows you're talking about, I tried to introduce my dad to Schitt's Creek, and it was not above his head, but we were sitting down to watch shows that you can just kind of turn off, and like, it is
a good background show.
Yeah, it's good. Yes. And Schitt's Creek, I think, is great because there are so many fun little like moments that are witty and aren't just mindless TV moments. But he was looking for a show that you can just sit down and it's funny and wholesome, I think. And then I thought comforting. And then I thought Criminal Minds was a very comforting show to me for a long time, but it's not wholesome, No. So that's where I kind of went with that.
I like it.
Were we talking the other day about like that Roland Barthes when he did the essay on wrestling and how it's a form of morality play, that you actually go to see professional wrestling because we honestly just want to know that the dastardly villain will be punished, and we want to know that the hero will overcome. And so the idea being that a lot of times we go to a show to enact our own sort of virtues, and we need to participate in a crowd in which we can watch the virtues that we hold dear being held up. Everyone can agree that this guy's a villain because he's trying to skirt the rules, or he's bending the rules, while this other guy's playing by the rules, but he keeps getting hurt, right? And this would be your protagonist at this point. And so this claim for justice coming in. And so when I kind of think about some of these shows as well, there's this kind of like virtue and morality. And a lot of times we just sort of want to see our own morality reflected back at us. Yes, this is the worldview I believe in, and I want it to keep coming back to me. And that way it reaffirms that the world works this way.
No, that's a good point. And I just wanted to say, for example, with Ted Lasso, right? Like the thing that makes that so wholesome is that regardless of what happens to the dude, regardless of how wrong somebody wrongs him, like he always like does the right thing, right? And he always like figures out a way to not only do the right thing, but spin that bad thing that somebody did to them. And then also it's kind of like, it makes me think of like when a parent is like disciplining a child, and it's like, I'm not mad at you, but I'm disappointed in you. And it's like almost worse, right? And it's the same kind of way. Like he like accepts it so much and does it in a way where it's like, you feel worse about the fact that you wronged him because you're like, okay, not only did I wrong somebody, but I wronged this guy. You know what I mean?
And he's always just sort of like, well, did you learn something from it? Okay, let's move on. And you're just like, what? How amazing are you?
I have not seen this show. I need to see the show.
Yeah, you should check it out. And it's one of those too that where it's like, you know, I don't think there's a long list of people who want to be exactly like Ted Lasso, because he's definitely a character and he's a little bit goofy and things like that, a little over the top. But he definitely is like, oh, okay, like if I could be a little more like that in some ways, you know, that could be good for people.
Here's a character that sounds kind of similar. Also, not sure if it's wholesome. Big Mouth, but the gym teacher, and his name is eluding me at the moment, but he. Many things that are not so great happen to this guy, but he also always can spin it, and that's where that connection.
He's got a great voice.
Yeah, yes,
Coach Steve.
Coach Steve.
Have you ever seen that movie?
No.
Or TV show? You should
No.
watch it. It's funny. Nick Kroll is the creator and the voice actor of a lot of the characters.
I think we started watching it, and it was like kids, and it was super crass, and we
is.
just went, not really our bag.
Yes, understandable. It's a little cringy sometimes, and you're like, oh my gosh, the things that they're talking
On
about.
the other hand, though, that I did watch a lot of South Park. You know,
Very
those are kids, and it's very
yes,
crass. So I don't know
yes.
why this stopped me.
No, it's one of those that, like, you know, I'm not finding myself like put on all the time, but there's certainly like, okay, I need a show that's like kind of funny. And well, that's the beauty of today and age. It's like you find out what type of thing you're feeling, and then you're like, oh, I know, I can find exactly the type of show or movie that's gonna, you know, get in that hole. I don't know why I said it like that, but
Fill that hole.
Yeah, fill that void.
Wholesome.
Wholesome. Thank you. Way to turn that.
There we go.
Fill that wholesome. That's the marketing movement we need to come up with. But yeah, it's good, and it's funny, and they have the hormone monsters to represent like as these kids are coming of age, and so I think it's also just kind of a novel concept. I think is why it's kind of interesting to watch for some reasons as well. And then there's definitely some good writing and good jokes in there too. Go ahead.
And Coach Steve, and
Coach
I was,
Steve,
and he always finds a way to see the bright in the situation, or maybe he's just naive.
Yeah, probably a little both.
And yeah, that's kind of a fun spot to get into. It's like thinking like, if you just choose to be sort of naive as you move through the world, you're like, it's the oh so smart, oh so kind thing, right? You can either be oh so smart or oh so kind. That's what was that Harvey the Rabbit movie?
I don't know.
Where it was an old one, I think Cary Grant or something, but he had an invisible friend that was a rabbit.
Okay.
But he was a super intelligent attorney or something. But he also found that like you can all work your whole life to be smart.
Yeah.
And so what? At the end of the day, you're just smart, and no one actually cares about you.
It's Jim Stewart.
Jimmy Stewart,
and it was just Harvey is the name of the thing. 1950.
All right.
It's funny seeing you know, in our day and age, we've got the full grown CGI. I don't know why I called it full grown, but in this day and age, they have just a plain old man in a bunny suit.
Oh, okay, yeah.
To represent the invisible rabbit.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And so it's just kind of like, oh, that's a little different to, you know, see. It has a whole different like feel to it.
Yeah.
Not intentionally, but it was 1950,
That's
so
what they
that's
had.
what they had to work with, right?
Yeah, it's a good story, and I think a good reminder for, like, you know, it's one of those, we talked, I think, a couple episodes about stoicism and negative visualizations, the idea that at some point you're going to be on your deathbed, and what kind of person do you want to be as you approach death?
Absolutely.
And this idea of being oh so kind does sound a lot better than being oh so smart.
It really does. And it reminds me, I was, before I started Libby's Kitchen and it evolved to Libby's Kitchen Studio, I was a youth director. And I always encouraged my youth, like, okay, you're not going to be best friends with everybody. You don't have to be friends with everybody, I think is what I said. But I encourage you to be kind to everyone, because you don't have to like a person.
Yeah.
And you can be kind to them.
No, that's a very good point. And also, you know, there's a lot more to lose by not being kind to people.
Absolutely.
Especially because you never know how life's going to go and who's going to like turn around and end up being like your boss or your executive or someone, you know, who's whatever. Like, and it's just like, and that's kind of how life goes. You're just like, wow, never thought. But then it's like, and then you look at each other and then you both know like, oh, dang it, I can't work here. Or I gotta fix this. It's like you both know you had that wrong in the past, and yeah. But I wanted to show this bunny.
Oh
so,
my gosh.
So there's just for for comparison. So that's a little bit of a different vibe, you know, having a full man in a bunny suit like that versus being like a small, cute little animated bunny that's like hopping around or something. And I don't know the vibe of this, you know, movie, right?
Oh, the movie is of course like, you know, classic kind of. It's like almost like a 50s Christmas movie.
It's a sweet movie, not a
it's
creepy
very
movie.
Sweet, because this reminds me of like Donnie Darko when I look at this.
I was thinking creepy
That's funny
too.
how that vibe just goes way different, right?
When you said man in a bunny costume, I immediately thought, ooh, that could be creepy. Like,
Yeah, but that's also part of what we think of now based off of TV shows and you know, and like things like It, like the full man and the clown suit is a little creepier and things like that. But yeah, it's just, so let's not move towards that because we're staying wholesome today, right?
We sure
staying
are.
Wholesome. But yeah, so speaking of Jimmy Stewart and Christmas movies and roughly the 50s, I'm gonna blank on the name of the movie. It's a Wonderful Life. Do you ever watch? Either of you all ever watch that one?
I have. It's good.
Years ago, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's one that's a Christmas classic at our house. So my family's watched that basically every year. So even though I'm not one for repetition, that's probably the thing I've seen the most in my life, just because every year times, you know, whatever, how long it's been now. But it actually is a similar kind of wholesome movie as well. For those who haven't heard of it, it's a movie from like the 50s or something like that. And there's this guy who's like, I'm gonna go see the world, and he's gonna go explore, and he's gonna get out of his small town, and he's gonna go travel and all these things. And this is back when cars were like, you know, the tires were like this thick, like bicycles, and they honk like, you know. So it wasn't like the jet setting age we live in today. So he's getting out of the small town, and then something happens, and he ends up having to stay in the small town and be in the family business, and it's about his kind of like grappling with that. And I don't know, I'm trying to, it's hard to describe it without giving too many spoilers, but it's one of those ones where like if you're a kid, like you're probably gonna roll your eyes as your parents make you watch it, but as you get older, you're like, oh, okay, I see the, you know, the morals in there, and I like the characters, and it's cute and wholesome.
Yeah, kind of like Die Hard.
Yeah,
Great.
Also a
movie,
Christmas movie. My mother said the other day, as we were searching for Christmas movies to watch, and she said, Die Hard is not a Christmas movie. I said, have you seen it? And I don't remember a response. I said, it takes place at a Christmas party. It is very much so a Christmas movie. But I think that's the argument. It takes place at a Christmas party. Is it a Christmas movie?
Well, you know,
I vote yes.
But the thing is like, you know, whoever the screenwriter was for that show, like, I wonder if that was an intentional decision, or if like that's just like the happiest accident that's ever happened. Because how many times has that show or movie been rerun or marketed because of that exact reason, right? It's like close enough to where it's convincing people to go watch it.
Yeah, and it seems like just it's kind of shown up in the last like 5 or 6 years. It's like we all got tired of watching, you know, the Christmas Story with the Red Ryder BB gun,
Yes.
and you know,
Gives
even
you a
though
little something else.
That's always a great one. That's
It
the
is.
classic that runs on repeat at our vacations. Yeah.
Ours too.
Die Hard?
No, the
A Christmas Story.
Oh, A Christmas Story. Okay. Well, you shoot your eye out. That one?
Yes, yes.
So good.
And then Christmas Vacation, you know, with the Chevy Chase, the Griswolds. You know, so we have these kind of, you know, I guess I have to think there are some that didn't make it though, like Jingle All the Way or something. That doesn't that have like Arnold Schwarzenegger in it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, like
and
that
it
one
rings a
just
bell,
never
but I
made
can't.
it. It's like,
But you know, Home Alone. Oh, and that's not really the one. I said that, but that's not the one I meant to say. I was actually thinking, oh gosh,
Yeah, that's just-
Santa Claus.
Oh, Santa Claus with Tim
With
Allen?
Tim Allen.
right.
Yeah, that one
So
is
good.
That one's a classic. Makes you want like a Sunday, like because he's in the boardroom meeting and he like has like 7 Sundays.
Or that hot chocolate.
Oh yeah.
But-
And Bernard, which
Oh,
talk
Bernard.
about TV shows, Criminal Minds.
He is.
No, not Criminal. Is
Is
it Criminal Minds? No. What? Anyways, Bernard the elf is in Numbers. He is the mathematician in Numbers. He's the same actor, except Bernard is a teenage elf. He runs
He was
the
so
elf land.
cool.
Yeah. I just wish you could hang out with Bernard and have some hot chocolate with him. Well, let's move on to hospitality. But real quick, I wanted to define wholesome just in according to Merriam-Webster, the first definition is promoting health or well-being of mind or spirit. Another one is promoting health of body. And then another one is 3A, sound in body, mind, or morals. And 3B, having the simple health or vigor of normal domesticity.
The vigor of domesticity. You don't hear that very often.
No, you don't.
Oh, I really want that to be like a screamo band or like an album, right?
The vigor of domesticity.
Yeah, and it's just like about all songs about like being like a dad and like mowing the lawn or something like that.
But when a really angsty, ragey voice. Like,
Yeah.
Okay, is domesticity the same as
Like
does it
domestic.
come from domestic?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Before we move away from wholesome.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I would feel like making the connection. I don't know if I mentioned, did we, when you brought me on, did I share with
Go ahead.
the world
Share
what
it
my
again.
business is? Because there's a connection, I think, there. So I'm a personal chef and an artist, and on the personal chef side, do private events and meal prep, and people ask all the time what kinds of food I like to make. I'll do anything, but Libby's Kitchen focuses on, I think, wholesome foods. I say foods that'll fuel you, you feel satisfied, they're healthful, and when I say satisfied, like, damn, that's my one word for the.
Yeah, you're good. Anything's less than Danielle. So she set the bar up here. She was paving the way for future people, you know.
Gotcha. It's like, damn, that was a good meal, but I don't need a nap. Like, I'm ready to go do the thing.
Fills you in a good way.
Yeah.
There's a
Wholesome.
big difference. No, I like that because you know the opposite of that, which I've also achieved many times. Is
Yeah.
just like, oh, I don't feel good,
bloatsome.
right?
Yeah. Oh, not my favorite.
Yeah.
You know, 80-20, like, balance. Like, eat the good things, also eat the good things.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. And I want to highlight in our chat, we have Danielle said a couple of messages over our talk so far. One of them is she adds Danielle teaches writer Taylor Swift to future show ideas. She says she's already on
Yes.
top of it. And she mentioned that there actually is a Santa crawl in downtown McKinney as well. We went last year, and so I was kind of chuckling, or 2 years ago, internally when you said that. And last on Friday or Saturday, we were out and about, and we happened to see some of them.
I
We're
was
like,
going to
oh.
say, I'm pretty sure we saw
We
quite
saw
a few
some
Santas out.
Yeah, we saw some Santas.
They like to get
So
down.
yeah, so let's jump over to hospitality. So also, I did not give you a proper introduction as far as that goes. So Libby, her company is called Libby's Kitchen and Studio, and that link is in the description, and we will also drop it in the chat for you guys. But as she mentioned, she does. So it's kitchen and studio. So kitchen is the food stuff, and studio is kind of like the art stuff. And so on the art stuff, we'll talk a little more about that in a little bit. And
Sounds
the
good.
food stuff we'll talk a little bit about in a little bit too, because those are kind of like munchies, you know.
They are.
But before we talk about those specifically, let's talk about hospitality. And when I say hospitality, Libby, what do you think of?
Sure. You know, a welcoming environment. I think sometimes when people are coming to either a space they've been or a new space, you know, not everyone, but some people can feel a little uncomfortable. And so creating an environment where everyone feels welcome, and that can be in your home or just it can be anywhere, you know, it can just be in a conversation with somebody in the grocery store, really. I'll keep it simple.
No,
just
that's
a
good.
welcoming environment.
Yeah,
Being
what about you,
hospitable.
Ryder?
Yeah, I immediately think of like I have a friend who teaches hospitality courses at University of Houston,
Wow.
and so it's kind of interesting because that is mostly based around the hotel industry.
Yes.
And these kind of things, but there is like a professional way to do it, right? There are studies in it, like here's how you make people feel welcome, here's how you have a good trip with them, here's how you welcome them, all those kind of things. And so there's like rules of etiquette and rules of thumb about how to do it. And so of course I couldn't also help but think of like hospitals as having some of the worst hospitality.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
So yeah, anyway, sorry.
It's
Just
funny
a
because
digression of my
we
brain.
talked about STEM words, and you would think hospital and hospitality, seeing as the words are basically the same, that there would be more overlap. Hospital,
is part of,
hospitable,
but they're not. Yeah.
Yeah, different.
Well, it must be, that root must have something to do. Maybe you can look that up, Reed. But
And maybe they were maybe there was originally, you know, you think about a hospital, you want good
Yeah,
hospitality.
if
but
it's something about promoting health, if that would be the root, then you could sort of see how that would work. Promoting wellness or something, you could see how that would link up. But yeah.
Yeah, so the definition, I'll still look for the stems, but the definition of hospitality is the friendly and generous reception and entertainment of guests, visitors, or strangers. And this is next to Oxford Languages, which is the Google dictionary. So yeah, for me though, when I think about hospitality, the main thing that comes to mind is the little things. And some of that's in design elements. If you have a space that you're hosting, you want to make it feel a certain way. That could be lighting, that could be wall decor, that could be choice of couch, all these types of things. It could be music, but regardless, so that's just kind of the setting, right? That's one part of hospitality. And then the other is the people and making people feel welcome and doing the small things right where you're paying attention to them. You're making them feel seen and heard, and you're taking their preferences into account. If you look at some of the best in hospitality, Disney is one of the ones that they're kind of like the gold standard for treating their customers extremely well. And then, another thing is like high-end hotels and things like that. That's when you start to get to, you walk up and to the hotel and they announce, the doorman already knows your name and he says, welcome back, Mr. Richards. We'll have your special man waiting for you inside just like you normally like. And we'll bring that drink for you. And, here's your snack and we have your, your meal upstairs with your special man. They remember all of your preferences.
Thanks, Reed. I all of a sudden feel less comfortable.
Good.
More.
Good.
Yeah. This is too much hospitality. Reel it in.
I like to show the bounds.
Yeah, thanks.
Just
this is like Target's amazing hospitality when they know what you're gonna buy and they send you stuff in advance and it gets you into trouble, right? You heard about that story with they found out because of a girl's shopping patterns it changed. They knew she was pregnant, so they started sending stuff to her house.
Yes.
Her parents found out, right? So I think Target overdid their hospitality.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I forgot about that. I did hear of that. Wow.
Yeah, it is a fun one. So, but when it comes to hospitality, so Libby, how do you take these elements of, paying attention to the little things and providing that like welcoming feeling, things like that? How do you bring that into your business?
Yeah, so I'm going to answer that question, then I'm going to keep it all related and like go back just a little bit. When I think of hospitality, I also think of a summer camp and retreat center. I worked high school, college, year-round staff when I graduated from college, Luther Hill Ministries and Retreat Center. And one of the big things that we always talked about in staff training, and then I shared with our staff when I was leading staff training, but not even just that. It's every employee who works there really learns about hospitality and relationships. And so everyone who comes to Luther Hill, now they have a second location in Galveston, but taking all, like, as you were the things you were saying, I was like, oh yeah, that's Luther Hill. Taking into consideration people's preferences and what the space is going to be like when they arrive. And, they say they need something, like certainly within some measure and reason. Oh yeah, we can accommodate that for you. Anyway, so other things that's like what I think about when I think about hospitality, and it's related. I've taken that to my business.
Yeah.
And so that's the transition, but I don't want to cut you off.
No, I was just saying, I was going to share the link to Luther Hill.
Yeah,
that's
perfect.
Cool.
Yeah.
So Libby, like, that's one thing we've talked about, food and art, but at this point, I'm still not sure like what your business model is. Like, what is do you deliver food? Do you provide online tutorials for food? Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah, so I kind of dabble in not everything that you just said. I'll back up. So it started with and when I was living in California, in-home meal prep. So I would come to your home. First we would discuss what it is you're looking for. Do you want lunches and dinners? Are you looking for breakfast every day of the week? And I can provide some options, but really, and this is like the hospitality and preferences, I like being able to customize to what my client needs and wants, dietary restrictions. So we really, through discussion, we'll build a menu for them. So in-home meal prep, we discuss, I go do all the shopping, bring everything to your kitchen, cook your meals, put them in your meal prep containers, however you want it done, family style or individual servings, whatever works best for you, and clean up and leave it, and then you're set, and then come back and do it again if you want. Sometimes I've had folks who just need it for a certain amount of time, and then we're done. So that's one part of my business model. I also do private events. So like a Christmas party for a group of folks. I just did a couple's Christmas party a couple weekends ago. Did a ladies' Christmas party, done birthday parties, graduation parties. And with that, I like to do smaller events. So I say like 30 or less. I went with the term personal chef instead of caterer. I'm not looking to do like weddings or big events. Case by case basis I have before. So that's what I have historically done and still do. But now I am offering a line of like frozen casseroles and frozen meals to kind of stock your freezer for those nights when you come home or whatever. You are maybe in the morning, like I'm not going to want to cook later. So then you have an option already there.
Or like the groceries are running dry and you're just like, I don't have anything. Or of course, if you get sick or, all of a sudden your dad shows up because you don't know when to plan for him, all these types of situations.
have that lasagna from Libby in the freezer. Anyway.
So prepared foods and casseroles, things like that. But she also does things like kind of snack foods and desserts and stuff like that.
I do. Desserts on the spectrum from healthful but still delicious to very indulgent. I recipes for all of them. Sweet treats cool things, and snacks.
One of the cool things to watch about Libby's journey is she grew up here in Texas, right? And in Texas, there's plenty of good home cooking and things like that. But there's also plenty of things like butter and cream and all these like super rich but not the most healthy or healthful ingredients, right? But so she'd take like the nice home cooking feel, but then she went over to California, right? And you feel free to modify your story however you like. But went over to California and tried all these different types of Asian foods and things like that, and all these different restaurants, and then also the cultures and people that are out there. It's just so much easier to not even be intentional about it, but it just kind of is everywhere, and you taste all these food and you're like, ooh, I really like this. And one of the other things about California, healthy, when someone says California, all I can think of is avocado, and I don't know why.
Well, you're accurate with that, because I have a cookie that has avocado, a chocolate chip cookie that happens to have avocado in it, and it's gluten-free, and it's fabulous. It's like one of those chocolate chip cookies that, okay, there's sugar in it, there is some butter, I'm not going to call it a healthy cookie,
right?
But it is more healthful, and it's really delicious.
And so that's like the exact combination, right? Of like the healthy, but also with that good, strong taste and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I did pick up some. I don't want to call them trends, but picked up some more healthy cooking. That part of my repertoire expanded when living in California. Had clients, had people who wanted things vegan or vegetarian. So you just experiment. And going back to it, I like customizing to what you want, and it expands my recipe, book. And so I've really enjoyed. You hit the nail on the head. Grew up in Texas. Just some down home recipes, and then moved to California, soaked in all of that goodness, and then brought it back to Texas. So it's fun. Yeah.
And then we've talked a little bit about the art side. Do you want to move into that yet, or should we hold off?
No. Well, okay. So I do think we should get into the art side. The art side. Welcome to the art side. Real quick, before we move off of hospitality, I pulled up the STEM stuff. So when you're looking at hospital, during the Middle Ages, hospitals served different functions from modern institutions, in that they were almshouses for the poor, which is a fancy way of saying kind of like like a charity home, like people in need were providing shelter for them, that type of thing. Hostels for pilgrims, or hospital schools. And the word hospital comes from the Latin hospice, which signifies a stranger or foreigner, hence a guest. And another noun derived from this, hospitium, came to signify hospitality, and that is the relation between guest and shelter, hospitality, friendliness, and hospitable reception. So there's some comparisons there, and I don't know if you heard. There's hotel actually in there. There's hostel in there, all kind of from the same thing. Just they kind of dropped certain letters. So that's an interesting STEM combination.
That is interesting. And before we go to art, it seems like when you sometimes read when you speak, it spurs my mind to think of make a connection and share something else.
That sounds like a testimonial right there. I like it.
When you speak, it spurs my mind.
Hashtag clip that.
Yeah, you just see a little reed on top with spurs. Like,
And the mind is going.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
We're gonna have to make a picture.
It's sitting on a brain.
Oh man. Okay, so hospitality. Two things. You asked if I deliver. I do now deliver. Have that ability, but which I am really excited about. It's gonna really allow my business to expand. But also, before delivery was an option for me, like I said, I was doing everything in home, having to go into my client's home. So most of the time, most of my clients have been referred to me by somebody else. So you already have that, connection, and there's an element of built-in trust. If it was referred from somebody who you already trust. But sometimes it was somebody who, when your website and online stuff works right, and somebody just organically finds you online, right? But what I'm getting at is most of the time I'm going into my client's home to prepare food. So I need to speak to them in a way in which I am building trust, and I'm hospitable with them, so that hopefully they then trust me to come into their home. Sometimes they're there, sometimes they're not. Hoping y'all are following me. I don't know if you know what I mean? So having that hospitality to feel safe together, like to not just everybody. That was a kind of a hurdle I think I had to overcome. And people were like, oh, you come to their home. Like that was like maybe a different model, with all the models of you can order the meal kits that come to you. Oh, you're going to the person's home. But I think it allowed me to really elevate that level of hospitality that I could offer. I'm doing all your shopping and cooking and cleanup. Most times I leave the kitchen a little cleaner than I found it. Another little element of hospitality. I want to be welcomed back. So I want to create an environment, even though it's not my kitchen, that is welcoming for them in their home. And then this is the last thing I'll say about that. I love it because a lot of times people have me prepare their food, one, because they don't like to cook, they don't have time to cook, whatever the reason may be. So then I say, you spend your time doing what you want to do. I love cooking. I love every element of it. Planning, shopping, cooking, cleaning. And then I'll spend my time doing what I want to do. And I think there's some hospitality, welcomeness.
Some magic in there.
Yeah. Thanks for following me on that.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. You sit on this couch long enough, you follow some rabbit holes and some tangents. There's one thing we're good at. That's what we're good at. Actually, I think we're gonna put a pin on the art in the Munchies. We'll do a part 2 of this because, one thing I've been trying to be better about is respecting people's time. And so I want to make sure we don't run too late today. And I also want to make sure we give Art and Munchies some time and space to talk, because that's one of the beauties of our show is we do a little bit of planning up front, but then we also have these things like, oh, this made me think of that. We've got the Reed Devil Spur or Angel Spur or whatever we said, coming from the top, making people think and connect things to their brains. So we'll put a pin in those 2 things, but we're going to go a couple more minutes here because we started a couple minutes late, and we don't want to short people of the Libby.
Oh my gosh, you're again so kind.
So any other last thoughts on wholesomeness or hospitality from either of you guys?
No.
Beautiful.
I'm really interested in this guest idea. Like the idea of, the hospitality, the kind of root coming from guests, and the idea that a hospital is like, yes, you're a guest. And I'm like, oh, well, this makes so much more sense.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about that when we thought of that earlier, that unfortunately hospitals are not the most hospitable place, but I think they probably originated, like, somebody's sick, and when somebody's sick, hopefully they're treated well.
Unfortunately,
don't pour salt on an open wound, but over time.
Well, maybe back in the day they did pour salt.
They might have.
Who knows? Dry it out,
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's just one of the things that kind of unfortunately with hospitable, it's kind of at the opposite end of the spectrum of a lot of the things that make it hospitable, which is, staying sanitary, which is just kind of unfortunate, right? It's like, okay, for things to be sanitary, it's nice to have a whole bunch of white things, so you can tell when things get dirty, you can tell when it's clean, and then everything's antimicrobial, and people are all gowned up and masked up and all that kind of stuff, keeping distance. It's very like paperwork and very like official. There's a purpose because it's also got to be run, like a business and on time and efficiency and all that kind of stuff. And those kind of go against the grain of hospitality where, a lot of times things can be more comforting if you've got a whole bunch of small little things that are design elements and maybe a bunch of soft plush animals to make you feel like cozy and warm. And then, your bed's not, freaking white linens that are all just, you could tell, just used all the time. And so, maybe that's part of how they kind of started to grow apart a little bit. And then also hospitality is involved with science and, doctors and things like that, and they're also like going quick, and they got to use all these big words that you can't understand. So there are a whole bunch of things that it has going against it. And I know there are good facilities out there that do a good job of combating all of these things, right? But I think that might be part of why, back in the day, a hospital, maybe it was more like an inn or something, right? Where you just show up, they give you some ale or wine to help you like relax and forget your pains a little bit. And then, they just grabbed tore a shirt in half and then tied your bandage. It's like, there you go.
It's just kind of interesting to think about where all these things go. And there's also sort of modern conceptions of things and how we attach ideas to things without actually, and how these meanings shift over time, and how we're sort of unaware of it. So I always enjoy that kind of root etymology kind of stuff. It's nice.
Yes, because I have a tendency to speculate. I've reeled in my speculation, but that's what I was thinking when you said that. I was like, we're speculating a lot here. We are looking into it, but then we kind of, well, maybe it was this.
What if?
Yeah, I like it. I mean, speculating. I very much enjoy speculating. It's a fun thing to do. Well, we have John C in the chat. He's saying that he was so excited for art, and that he'll have to come back.
Maybe. It's not my show. I won't say maybe tomorrow, but
it's very possible. Maybe tomorrow. He says since you are here sleeping in our office in our studio, that does increase the odds.
Yes,
it does increase the odds. Well, any challenges pop to either of your heads for our viewers today?
Libby, I'll let you take a swing.
Feel free to say no. Could be an empty brain, no worries.
No, it's totally fine. Okay, so I'm thinking like wholesome, hospitable. Maybe where do you notice hospitality today?
Yeah, I
like
like that.
Whether it's like at your bank or at a restaurant or in your own home or at the grocery store, with just in conversation with somebody, or Or can you be hospitable today?
Yeah, I like it. The classic two fork challenge, pronged. Kind of like the spurs coming down from above. One spur, two spur, get you going. No, I like that. So the challenge for today is to notice some hospitality in your life. And that could be either at your job, which would be impressive depending on where you work, I guess. It could be in your home. It could be at a friend's house. It could be at a restaurant. It could be at a bank. It could be on a train. I don't know, Sam I Am. Blue eggs and ham. Something was right about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, notice that hospitality, and that's really about noticing the small things. Maybe you go into that restaurant and you look around and be like, I never really noticed it, but they use the cherry wood here, which that dark color goes really nicely. They have this art on the wall that actually fits in with the vibe. The music. Oh, we're at a Tex-Mex restaurant. The music it's there, but it's not like in your face loud, so it like sets the scene, but we can still have our conversation. Well, the lights actually are a little dimmer here, so it's not like so bright and feels like a hospital while I'm trying to eat my food. All those types of things, and of course, maybe you notice bad hospitality.
What might be interesting is sometimes when you don't notice anything at all, that might be amazing hospitality. Like
Yes.
the invisibility of hospitality might be a key that it's really finely honed.
Yes, and that's it is a fine line, right? Because when you have something like that, where another example that comes to mind is like these Brazilian steakhouses. One of the more popular ones is called Fogo de Chão. There are others as well, but that's like the most popular national chain. And it's like your glass never goes below half empty, like because they're always coming around and just top it off. You never have to ask for a refill. It's just always there. So that's a great example of something where it is. And then when you go one time and that's not that way, then you're like, oh. I'm a king. Bring me my water.
Yeah.
Which is actually how I say it. And then
Good. I was hope you stand up on the table when you do this as well.
yes, I do. It's great. So part 2 of the hospitality challenges. So part 1 is to notice the hospitality, and part 2, which is a bonus, is for you to impart some hospitality in your own life, and maybe that's for your friends or your family, or maybe it's for yourself. Maybe it's just like, hey, for lunch today, I'm actually gonna clear off the table and put on some music and change the lighting and then really be there and enjoy the meal, and be intentional about it. Maybe I'll even light a candle, or maybe you're having a friend over and you offer when they come you open the door for them at first. You go out and meet them. You open the door instead of making them text you to come in, and then you open the door and you offer to take their jacket, and then you have a drink already ready for them, and all these type of small things. And
I like to weigh them down with gifts as they enter the building, and then make them climb the stairs with all the gifts to get to my.
Here's this chainmail, this full plate armor.
Yeah, look what I got for
the
you.
Sword.
Yeah.
This anvil.
Right. Okay, come on up to the house with your drink, and don't spill that drink. I spent a lot of time on it.
Right. You just like drink, snack. Are you feeling hospitable yet? No, I like that. So that's the 2-part hospitable challenge for you guys. And also keep your eyes noticed. Keep your eyes peeled so you can notice some of the things that Libby and us we might be doing today and or tomorrow. We are going to be making a pear tart of some sort.
We sure are.
Yeah, and it's going to be delicious, and we couldn't have Libby come visit us without taking advantage of some of that hospitality and some of that good cooking. So we're going to be doing that, and we'll be filming that. We may even be doing it live for you to join in, but even if it's not live, we'll definitely share with you guys. And then the other thing, what's the other delicious thing we're going to be making?
Kentucky cream. Think Irish cream, Bailey's, but with Kentucky bourbon. And it's not as tricky as you might think. You can have your own Bailey's, homemade, at home. And it's so delicious. So good.
Yeah. And we were talking like, oh, well, we could do bourbon, we could do Irish whiskey, and we're like, I think we're just going to have to try both. Fall on that sword.
Yes, it's called food
we'll
science. We'll do both.
You heard it here first. We are making sacrifices for you. We will make alcoholic beverages and drink them on the weekday just for you. See how much we suffer on this show? Man.
I'm living, man.
It's rough. Well, any last notes for our viewers today?
Be kind.
Be kind. Rewind. Oh, no, that's not. That doesn't make sense
Not
anymore.
applicable.
Well, then just be kind again.
Yeah, just be kind. Oh, rewind.
And then be kind.
Blockbuster should make some new
Rewind and
T-shirts.
then be
I like
kind.
it. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. It has been a wonderful start to the Monday, and my stomach is now grumbling as we're talking about all of these delicious things. So keep your eyes peeled for the notifications on the peach. Wow.
Pear. I did that yesterday. It's okay.
Yeah, they both start with P, I guess. For the pear tart and also the Kentucky cream or the Irish cream, whatever cream you're creaming.
Dreaming.
Don't stop the creaming. And with that, before the jokes get any worse, everyone have a wonderful day and be kind.
Bye.
Wait for it.